Buenos días. Es el miércoles y son las 12. Hello, everyone. It's 12 o'clock and it's Wednesday, so it's time for Community Spanish, broadcasting every Wednesday and Friday at 12 o'clock. In addition to Community Spanish, we also have Community Mandarin on Monday and Thursday afternoons at 12:30, and Community French is now in its new time of Mondays and Wednesday mornings at 8. And we also have our children's French bedtime stories from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 8 o'clock. So lots of things going on here. And on our Instagram, we also have Portuguese lessons going live. So feel free to check over on our Instagram to get some Portuguese lessons in addition to all the things we have running on Facebook. A couple of quick reminders before we get into today's lesson. Number one is that the March schedule is now posted. So if you're looking to get into a class, the first spring classes, you're welcome to check out our website and take a look at what's coming up. The other thing I want to remind everyone of is that today we are officially launching the La Familia Rocha series, which is an animated cartoon book series that was written by Rola's director, Ed, about his family and illustrated by a professional illustrator. So it's a really cool and very cute book, and it's really fun for kids and even adults too. The book is all in Spanish, except for there's some, for the key vocabulary words you need to understand on each page, there are little translations at the bottom of the page. So you have a little kind of English help along, but otherwise the rest of the content is in Spanish. And so we're officially launching these books today as the first in this series, and we're planning to have 6 books in total. So the first one is now published, but there are definitely more on the way. So this is a really exciting project for us. So with those couple of announcements aside, I want to get into today's lesson, which we're going to be continuing with the verb conocer, which is the verb to know, one of the verbs for to know in Spanish, which we've been reviewing. Now, if you missed the original videos where I first taught about saber and conocer, you're welcome to go to our website on rolalanguages.com onto the Facebook Live page, and you can find all of the previous videos that I've made. So if you want to check over there before you come back here for the review, that's totally fine. But otherwise, we're going to proceed with those of you who do have some knowledge with this to go ahead with our review. So let's get into it. So first, just a quick review again of what we were speaking about with the uses of conocer. So as I said before, conocer is also the verb to know, like the verb saber in Spanish. But as we've been learning, saber is used mostly for facts and information and skills, like knowing how to do something, versus conocer, which is what we started to review in our last Facebook Live, was to talk about to know in the sense of knowing people, and also about a sense of familiarity, especially with places. So we're going to be using conocer for mostly those 2 instances. Again, for knowing when we're describing a relationship with a person, when we know a person. And the other part is when we're just describing about familiarity with something, especially as it relates to a place or a topic, we use conocer for those. So just to quickly review these conjugations before we get into our practice exercise together. Por favor, repite después de mí. We have yo conozco. Yo conozco. Remembering to keep that zeta, the Z in English, is nice and soft in Spanish. So not conozco, but conozco, like an S sound. Yo conozco. Okay. Tú conoces. Tú conoces. Él, ella, usted conoce. Él, ella, usted conoce. Nosotros, nosotras conocemos. Vosotros, vosotras conocéis. Ellos, ellas, ustedes conocen. Muy bien. Okay, so now that we're warmed up with those conjugations and they're feeling extra fresh, again, hopefully they're already feeling very familiar at this point, given the amount of review we've done. So we're going to go into our exercise. And in addition to the exercise that we did previously and the one we're going to do today, I'm actually going to be posting another one up on the Rola Languages website. So when we upload the video for this lesson, I'm going to be uploading even an additional exercise. So if you wanted to get another, even more conocer in your life after this, then you will have that extra resource there on the website. So for this exercise that we're going to do together, Ejercicio 2. So as usual, I invite you to participate in this as much as you'd like. So if you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, to join along with me. And while I go through the exercise, to put your own responses in the comments below so you can see how this exercise is going for you. And even if you're watching this video after it's gone live, it's still a great exercise to help participate and practice with the video and write things out. As we know, when we learn a language or when we learn anything really, the more times you write something out, or the more times you repeat something out loud too, the more likely you are to remember it. So even if you're not participating in this video right as it's happening live, it's still helpful for you to write your comments in below to help your brain to absorb that information. So let's get into it. So número uno, so do you know Maria? So here's where we're going to be putting all of our skills together as we usually do when we have a translation exercise, because we have to keep in mind not only the vocabulary or whatever the topic of this exercise is that we're doing, which in our case here is focusing on conocer, but we also have to keep in mind our vocabulary and other grammar points that we need in order to make correct sentences and questions in Spanish. So keeping all of that in mind. Okay, so first question, do you know Maria? Do you know Maria? So again, she's a person, so that's why we're using conocer in this case. Okay, so número uno would be, ¿conoces tú? And then do you know? As when we do a question, we're going to swap. And so in a sentence, we say tú conoces, you know. But when we are putting it in a question, we're going to swap it and say conoces tú. And although the tú is optional, you don't have to include it. You can have conoces and just leave it like that. Conoces tú. And then a Maria. So keeping in mind that personal a. So altogether we have conoces tú or conoces a Maria. So making sure that you have that personal a in there. Okay, excelente. Número dos. I know many people from the library. I know many people from the library. So now going for the yo form. Yo, and hopefully this is fresh in your mind, yo conozco, I know, okay, many people. So again, don't forget that personal a, and then many people is going to be mucha gente, or you could say muchas personas if you want, so that's also an option, but in my case, I'm going to say mucha gente, and then from the library. So we have to keep in mind that bit of vocab here for the library. So hopefully you remember that place vocabulary. And again, I welcome you to go, if you're a little rusty on that, to go back and look and see the video that I made previously with the place vocabulary. So all together we have, yo conozco a mucha gente de la biblioteca. Yo conozco a mucha gente de la biblioteca. Or again, yo conozco a muchas personas de la biblioteca. That would also work. Okay, super. Número tres. Number three, we don't know the students. So here's our first negative. So if you remember our grammar about how we deal with negatives in Spanish. So for we don't know, so we're going to put that no in front. Muy bien. We're going to put that no in front of the verb. Okay, so we have nosotros or nosotras, whichever you choose. And then that no must go before our verb. So nosotros no conocemos, and the students, here's our bit of vocab, los estudiantes. So all together, si nosotros no conocemos los estudiantes. Muy bien. Okay. Número cuatro. They already know their professor. So ellos or ellas, we don't, from the English, we don't know if this group is all male or mixed group or all female group. So I'm just going to go with ellos because it covers more potential options. So ellos, they already know. So here's where we need this bit of vocab of the word already, which is, in this case, is ya. So ellos ya, and then meaning our form of conocer that goes with ellos, which hopefully you can recall back to the verb chart, is going to be conocen. So ellos ya conocen a su profesor. Ellos ya conocen a su profesor. Ellos ya conocen a su profesor or profesora. Okay, número 5, already halfway through, or more than halfway through. I know your city very well because I live nearby. Okay, so here we need a little bit more. This is a little bit longer, so we have to do a little more work. So I know, so again with yo conozco, and then your city. tú or su if we're being polite. Maybe we're speaking to someone with usted, but again, in the English, we don't differentiate between those two. So I'm going to go with the tú form. So yo conozco tú, and then we need our vocab for city, which is ciudad. Yo conozco tu ciudad, and then very well, muy bien. So I would say yo conozco muy bien tu ciudad. So in general, when we have these words like bien or mal or other these adverbs, they usually, not always, but usually go right after the verb that they describe. So if I'm moving that muy bien up. So I know in English we can put it after, but in Spanish it's more natural that we put it before. So yo conozco muy bien tu ciudad because I live nearby. Porque yo, remembering the verb to live, in this case is vivo, okay? If you need, again, if you need a little review of those IR verbs, you're welcome to check out that video as well. Okay, so yo conozco muy bien tu ciudad porque yo vivo, and then we need the nearby, and this is cerca. Really putting all the skills together in this sentence. Yo conozco muy bien tu ciudad porque yo vivo cerca, because I live nearby. Yo conozco muy bien tu ciudad porque yo vivo cerca. Okay, número 6. We are familiar with the area. We are familiar with the area. Okay, so now on back to the nosotros form. So we're going to say nosotros, or again, the nosotros is optional. You don't have to have it. You can just start with a verb if you want. But I'm going to add it just to be completely clear. So nosotros conocemos, again, remembering back to those verbs, conocemos, and then with the area. So, and in this case, in English, we say we are familiar with the area. In Spanish, we're not going to translate exactly word for word. So we can just keep it a little simpler in Spanish and say nosotros conocemos el área. Okay, so we don't need to add a con or something else. We can keep it nice and simple. So nosotros conocemos el área. Nosotros conocemos el área. Okay, so we are familiar with the area. Número 7, just 2 more to go. You formal, so now we're in usted. You formal are familiar with her situation. Okay, so now with the usted form, again, go back to in your mind to that verb chart, remembering that el, ella, and usted all share the conjugation, the same conjugation. So it's going to be the form conoce, right? El, ella, and usted conoce. So usted conoce, and then again, because in the English we're going to say being familiar with, but in Spanish a little simpler. So usted conoce, and then so we don't need with, but we're just going to go to her situation, su situación. Remembering that bit of vocab. So usted conoce su situación. Usted conoce su situación. And it's true that in Spanish, from just based on this sentence, we would not know exactly who the su refers to, because su could be belonging to him, belonging to her, belonging to usted. So in the English, we have the word her, which will specify for us. But in Spanish, it's a little bit unclear just from this. So we probably would need a little bit more context in order to understand whose situation was being referred to. Okay, last one, número 8. You all are familiar with the story. You all are familiar with the story. So you all, we have 2 different options. We can either go the ustedes route, which is the you all they use in all the countries outside of Spain, or we can use vosotros if we were in Spain. Again, I'm going to be focusing on the ustedes as I normally do. So I'm going to use ustedes to describe you all and are familiar. So again, thinking about ustedes sharing the same conjugation with ellos and ellas. So they're all going to be conocen. Conocen. Ustedes conocen. And then with the story. So again, in English, we have to say with the story. In Spanish, with simpler, no need for the with. So ustedes conocen, and then the story, el cuento. El cuento. So also this word, the story in English is a little bit vague in the sense of it could be like a fairy tale, like a book story, or you mean the story like something that happened, like more like the history of something. When we say that you know the story, it's like you know all the past events leading up to this one. So in Spanish, we can be a little bit more specific. So if we say ustedes conocen el cuento El cuento is more like the book story, like a fairy tale. But la historia would be to say like the history, like all the series of events that have led up to this one. But I'm going to just go and make it simple and go with the story because again, we don't have any more context. So I'm going to go with the book story type of translation. Ustedes conocen el cuento. Ustedes conocen el cuento. Muy bien. Okay, so that wraps up this exercise. Again, hopefully that was helpful. I could bring us one step further in taking our Conocer skills and applying them in translations, which, as I always say, are kind of the best exercise you can do because what you're doing is putting together all of your skills, not just focusing on one thing individually, but you have to combine vocab, you have to combine grammar, and not just of the subject you're studying, but of all the past things, you're putting all these things together. So that can be some of the kind of the best flexing of your Spanish muscles, as it were. So that's all for this exercise. And as I said, I'm going to be posting an extra one up on our website, rolalanguages.com. So once this video gets posted up on our website, you should be able to find the extra worksheet there if you want to get any extra practice. You're welcome to explore that and see if there are any other previous videos you want to check out. And these are free resources, so we're very happy for you to share them with anyone else who you think might benefit from these topics. Whether they're a Rola student or not, it doesn't matter. So that's all for me today. I'll be back on Friday at 12. Gracias y adiós.